very good morning to you. Welcome to Young Africa. This is the show for young people, and my name is Wango Ngoge. In today's show, we'll be looking at the youth, leadership, employment opportunities, and what the country has in store for them. In the studio, we are blessed to have the grandson of a long time ago famous person. He was a freedom fighter, a Pan-Africanist, Michael Mariano. I'm very sure you've heard about him. And in the studio, we have his grandson, KHADAR Mariano. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
We are so blessed to have you.
It's my pleasure.
I feel like I'm speaking to greatness.
Thank you.
Because your grandfather was a great person.
He indeed was.
Yeah. So who is KHADAR Mariano?
As you said, KHADAR Mariano is the grandson of Michael Mariano, the son of Badan Michael. And KHADAR Mariano was born, raised and educated in here, Somaliland. So I'm a complete product of Somaliland, this great nation. KHADAR Mariano studied here. We was lucky enough, or shall I say I was lucky enough, to attend a couple of the best schools in the country, namely South Sheikh Secondary School and Abarsa Tech. I attended also Admas University, studied architecture and urban planning. I work as communications and PR director and specialist. I am also passionate about youth, education and leadership because I believe the combination of these three things have the potential to transform the nation for better. So my focus are on these three areas. And a lot of the work I have done and a lot of the activism I have been doing for the past several years were in these areas to ensure a better future for the country and for the continent as a whole. Youth, education and leadership. Those three things are the key, I believe.
You mentioned PR and communication. That's what you majorly do. And you do a lot of activities with young people. So to start with, what is PR and communication? What do you do on a daily basis?
Well, from an early age, as a child, I was always interested in storytelling. And as you may know, Somalis are dubbed or said as they're called the nation of poets. So storytelling has been essentially integrated part of our culture. And as a person, storytelling had a great influence on my childhood, and I was fascinated by it. So when I grew up, communications was sort of continuation of that fascination. I was trying to always understand how people communicate, how words or image building campaigns affect people's public view. So basically, my young childhood fascination grew into my career.
So you used to read a lot of poems?
I did. And like most Somali kids, I used to hear a lot of stories from my parents and the older people in the neighborhood. So it was a culture of telling stories. And if you see communications, if you look at it this way, it's also this person telling a story of maybe this organization or company. So that essence is still living. So I decided to make a career out of it.
Other than telling stories, PR and communication, you're very passionate about young people. What are the major things you've done with young people in Somaliland?
Well, I have done a number of things, starting from when I was in secondary school. By then I was very active on the debating teams, and my interest in leadership and youth and education has been starting from there. And after graduation, I joined many campaigns. So my first interest was education. And with some friends from high school, I co-founded an organization called the Youth Volunteers, Youth Education Empowering League. YEG was essentially seeking to mobilize a large number of volunteers, educated youth, to help others who were not so lucky, maybe to go to good schools. So basically we're trying to go to the public schools and schools for the low-income students and teach there, spend our time with them, help them learn. From there on, my campaign went on. I later on worked with the Somaliland National Library, which was just completed at the time. So I started with another friend a campaign called Donate One Book. We were basically trying to get people donate books to the new National Library. From there on, my work went on and on and on. I was involved also in a number of other initiatives, say, for example, the first Somaliland national debate, and one of the first national presidential debates in this African region. I was very much involved with that, with a large number of other Somaliland youth. I was also recently doing a program called Startup Grand Hargeisa, whereby we try to present Somaliland youth with successful business people, so that they can be role models to them, so that they can share their experience with them, so that they can have discussion or answer the questions the youth may have about business and how to go about it and how to start it. So I was very much involved in this. On the other hand, I do a lot of online campaigning, always campaigning for better education, better leadership, and for the Somaliland youth to be given the opportunity to basically lead. First, education comes first. They have to be educated. We need world-class education so that we can be competitive globally in this globalized world. But we also need to be given the opportunity to lead.
So you believe that young people can lead this nation?
Of course, I believe that the future of this nation is in the hands of youth. If not for youth, I worry about the future of this country. So I believe that the youth have the solution, they have the ability, and they have the know-how. So if the youth are given this with their energy, they can transform the nation for better. So that's what I have been always campaigning for.
Well, unfortunately, there are very few young people in parliament or taking up leadership positions in this country. What are the challenges that young people are facing? Why are young people not leading? Where are they not doing well in life?
Let's say, I believe that there are a large number of Somaliland youth who are doing well in their life, but in politics, that's one key area that Somaliland youth are lagging behind. Namely, the political system is not set for youth, women, and other minorities to lead the country. It's more or less the continuation of the male-dominated system, old male-dominated. Old people, all males. So back in the Somali culture, only the elderly men used to take all the decisions, but the modern states don't have that kind of system. So that
but it is said that old people are wiser.
Indeed, they're wiser, but the question is, do they have the energy? Do they have the understanding of this contemporary world like the young people? I think they're wise and we can make well use of their wisdom, but the leadership should come down to the youth because they have the energy and the understanding of how things work nowadays.
The issue of unemployment. Young people are going to higher education, they are learned, but they're not getting jobs. What's the problem?
Well, that is one key area we need to do a lot of work in. The statistics have that Somaliland youth are 70%, and 75% of those 70% are unemployed. That's alarming number. That has to change. I can think of several challenges as to why Somaliland youth don't get jobs, decent jobs. First and foremost, as I was saying, the education system is just broken. I can say that because when the student graduates, they don't have the mindset to create their own jobs.
So, like they are taught how to study to secure a job, but not how to study to create a job.
Yes, indeed. They don't have that mentality of, okay, I graduated from school, so why not start my own startup or business so that I can not only create a job for myself, but also for my friends or for my fellow Somalilanders. So that has to change. Another one I can think of is, even if a young person starts a business, the opportunities for investment are not there. So
the resources,
the capital are not there. So that is another major challenge as to why Somaliland youth are usually unemployed. Another one is the government. is not starting a progressive employment programs. So this issue is as if it's not even a priority for the government. So that's one thing Somali youth have to pressurize the government for.
Like we should have internships, government internships.
Private companies internships, laws for internships and all those sorts of things, which are not passed yet. So those things have to happen, and quickly, because we don't want to have hundreds of Somali youth dying overseas or in deserts in search of better life. We have to create that life right here. So I believe that we can do it with the right commitment and the cooperation we need to come up with.
So you're a firm believer that a young person does not need to go to the outside world to look for a job in the UAE or in any other country. They can make a good life here in Somaliland.
A good life here. With good education, good programs, both private and governmental. I believe Somaliland youth can not only find jobs for themselves, but they can contribute to the growth and development of the country. We have that kind of potential, but only if we invest in the Somaliland youth. And there can be no greater investment beside, other than investing in the human resources of the country. That is where the difference lays between the countries. If we don't invest in the human capital, especially the youth of this country, we are looking at a very dire future.
What can be done to make sure that the youth are more productive, other than improving the education system and maybe having government internships? What else can be done?
Well, I am also a firm believer that mindsets play a great role in this. So we have to change the mindset of the youth, so to say. We have to change the tenacity in the youth. I recently started an online campaign. It's called the Somaliland Dream.
The Somaliland Dream.
The Somaliland Dream.
What is it about?
It is about asking the very basic question of, okay, we are a nation, we have been a nation for the past 28 years. We should make a lot of progress, but what is the ultimate dream? Where are we going? So I wanted to change the conversation from the pessimistic sort of the dialogue we usually have to a more progressive thinking, forward-looking, more hopeful and positive. So that's the kind of mindsets I want to contribute to change. We have to think about the future very positively, and we have to come up with national goals. So for example, if you work hard, if you study well, if you have the drive, the tenacity, and the perseverance, you will sure be successful in Somaliland. That those ground principles should be set. So yes, that's one area we have to do a lot of work in, changing the mindset from find a job to create a job, from being pessimistic to being positive, to saying literally that there are no opportunities, to seeing opportunities in everything. So those are the kind of things we have to do in order to change the current state of affairs.
Do you work with any organization or any individuals? Because I'm sure you cannot do this alone. You cannot empower the young people alone.
Indeed.
Are you working with people?
As I was saying, I started with this organization I co-founded, Youth Education Empowering League. I've always managed during my time in these areas, youth leadership and education, I made a lot of connections, a lot of youth. I work with the Somaliland Youth Organization's National Umbrella, SONYO, which is basically the umbrella for all youth organizations in Somaliland. They do a lot of work. I work with them, a lot of leadership programs, a lot of job readiness programs to train young people to be ready for the labor market. So I work with this. I also, as I was saying, work with Startup Grind Hargeisa, whereby we give youth opportunities to be with and ask questions and get experience from the more successful business people.
Tell me about this startup.
Startup Grind.
Yeah.
Startup Grind, Hargeisa, is basically an international program. We brought the chapter for Somaliland here, I and several other friends. So basically the aim of this program is to invite successful business people. They can be local or Somali diasporas coming back from abroad. So we want to engage a conversation with these people. They have experience, they have came across a lot of challenges, they had it very hard themselves. So we want to show these young people that it's possible. If you really want to do this, if you really want to start your business, you can do it. Because if he can do it, then you can do it. We also give them the opportunity to ask questions about the little details that they may not know. And this successful business person will answer to them. And they will also have, at the end of the day, the opportunity to network with them so that in the future they can cooperate or partner or anything.
Are there any success stories you've encountered, like after holding these events, after talking to young people? Is there any young person you would identify that has changed, like their way of life has changed, they have started earning something? Is there any particular group of young people or any individual young person?
Well, I know a lot of young people here. In the recent years, I mean, young people were waking up. These global waves have been really affecting us. So I know young people, friends basically, who started their own technology companies. They studied software engineering, for example, and they started software engineering companies. And they're operating well. They're finding work, they're designing websites, they're creating database for companies. So the success stories are there, but all we need is to amplify them, is to show others that it's possible. If they can do it, then you can do it. That kind of philosophy have to find its ground is in here. And I don't see that yet, but hopefully with the kind of online campaigning we're doing, with the kind of events that we're organizing in the near future, we will capitalize on that and we will ensure that people will be forward thinking and see the real opportunities in the country.
What's your view on drug addiction? Because a lot of our young people are getting lost in the misuse of drugs, cards and the likes. What's your view on that?
Well, it is undeniable fact. Very unfortunate, but undeniable. And I believe that both the government and the people are to be blamed for it. I mean, we can't have $600 million every year for drugs and then stay way below the poverty line. That's the kind of money we spend on drugs. Chief among them, cat. We are losing young people with education, with force, basically young people of the labor age, the ones who would develop the country, who would turn the wheels of development in this country on drug addiction. The government has to come up with rehabilitation programs. They have to guide these young people better. So guidance is completely lacking. And also the community, we need a community leadership as a whole to help these young people come back to their normal lives, stop drug addiction, and to start working again. So the government, community leaders, youth leaders have to all cooperate together because this is a very serious problem. We can't have half of the country chewing and addicted to drugs and expect development, economic development in this country. So it's an alarming problem and we have to all cooperate together to solve it.
Have you had any encounter with these young boys in Hargeisa who steal mobile phones, mug people? Have you had any?
Yes, I did. And basically, let me be clear. Hargeisa is one of the most safe capitals in Africa, if not the world. But recently there have been incidents whereby young people, mainly those who are addicted to drugs, stealing phones from people. And I see nowadays that the government is doing a great job in securing the neighborhoods to make sure that people are safe. And many of these youngsters have been jailed and sent to prisons. So I hope things get better. And that again shows that we need to create jobs. Because this young person would not be roaming around stealing people's mobile phones if they were employed. So we need to fix the education system, and we need to create jobs for these young people.
If you were to be a leader in this country, because maybe one day you will be a leader, what are the top 3 things you would do for the young people of Somaliland?
Young people of Somaliland. Well, I would do the 3 things I would like to be done now by the current leaders. First of all, as I was repeating again and again, I would fix the education system. We live in the digital age, and we need to have a cutting-edge research institutes. We need our young people to learn to be competitive in the global markets. So I will improve that. And at the end of the day, young people, when they graduate with good education system, I would sort of create environment, space for them to be creative, to be innovative, to start their own businesses, and to get funding for their own businesses. Because they cannot go on being creative and innovative and not get funded. That just doesn't work. So I'll create the policies. I would try to help attract the big investors to the country so that these young people can get the opportunity to get investments. So those are the 2 things I would do. And I will also add, leadership should start from the grounds up, from schools, from neighborhoods, up to the organizations. So I would sort of try to nurture young Somaliland leaders, invest in them in particular, connect them, and also connect them with the other young leaders in the neighboring African countries. Because after all, we don't live in an island. We live in a continent. We need to be connected with the rest of the continent. So I would do those 3 things: fix the education system, create environment for entrepreneurship, and nurture leadership from young age, from schools, from universities, from organizations, and help connect those young Somaliland leaders to the leaders in the rest of the African countries. Those are 3 things I would do for the youth.
As the grandchild of a freedom fighter, what advice do you have to all the young people, not only in Somaliland, but the entire Africa?
Well, I would first of all say that we live in the best of times. I truly believe that. We live in the best of times. We live in the times of opportunity. We live in the times of information. We live in the times of free education. So first of all, I would say that each and every one of you must know that there are no limitations as to how far you can go, as to how big of achievements you can reach. There are absolutely no limitations. All you need is the willpower. And where there is a will, there is a way. So if you really want to make something out of you, there is absolutely no way that you cannot achieve that with the kind of free education that's available online. We are all on Facebook. We all have cell phones. Africa has one of the highest cell phone penetrations in the whole world. We have the greatest numbers of young people. There is no way that we can lag behind. We can leapfrog technology. Let's focus on learning, education. Let's make use of this free education available online. Let's stay connected, because we cannot achieve things if we're not connected, if we don't share things, if we don't cooperate together. So that cooperation is key. So those are 2 things I would advise.
Are you on social media? If someone wants to reach you, inbox you, will you tell them I don't talk to strangers?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm very open when it comes to that. Very extroverted too. I usually use Twitter. my handle is @puntite. So basically, I'm on Twitter. I'm open for dialogues. I'm very opinionated. I always share my opinions there. And I like to have more friends around the globe, and especially around Africa. So yeah, I would be very open to have and meet new friends.
Well, you heard it from the great Mariano himself. Thank you so much for making time to come and make this a show. Young Africa is happy to have you, and we hope that what you're doing will encourage many, many young people, not only in Hargeisa, not only in Somaliland, but the entire region.
I hope so too. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Well, thank you so much, our audience, for watching. I hope that you have learned something. Until next time, have a wonderful day.